Hello, I'm Xorgon and welcome to the XDungeon tutorial. This will teach you to create a dungeon, add loot, and use the dungeons themselves. As you can see here for this demonstration, we'll be using the simple frame of a dungeon. Obviously any type terrain can be used. You could build a dungeon in there for all I care. So to start with, we need to create the dungeon itself. /xdungeon is the root, /xdungeon is the root for all commands. This is loot, select, dungeon, list, party, and room. So to start with, we need to use /xdungeon dungeon. This is the menu that you'll be using to set up anything to do with the dungeon itself. For example, in this case, we're going to create a dungeon. Dungeon, create, and we're going to call it test. You can name it whatever you want, preferably be relevant to what you're going to use it. For example, if you're going to make a World of Warcraft stockades based dungeon, then I would recommend calling it the stockades or something similar. So we need to set the boundaries for our dungeon. Also, I've laid out where I want the boundaries to be. To select anything in XDungeon, it's a very similar system to World Edit, except we can use commands /xd select point 1. That'll select the block that you're looking at. Very, very similar to World Edit. It's just in its own system. So now that we've got the dungeon created, we've got the points set, we actually need to set the boundaries. So we'll do /xd dungeon. Obviously xd is a shortcut for XDungeon. Set boundaries test. So this will set the boundaries for the dungeon test. So now we need to create a room in the dungeon. For this we're going to be using just room 1, room 2, you can call them whatever you want, possibly have them to the theme of the room, maybe a snow room, a fire room, whatever you feel like doing. So we're going to create a room, so /xd room create, we'll call it room 1. This creates a room for the dungeon you're in, so if I try creating a room here, I'm not in a dungeon. So make sure that you're in the correct dungeon that you're trying to configure when you set up the rooms. So we're going to do /xd select again, because you need to set boundaries for the room. Select point 1. We're going to have /xd select point 2. And then we're going to set the boundaries to this room. So similar to the XDungeon dungeon command, we're going to /xd room, set boundaries, room 1. And that'll set the boundaries for this room to those. So we also want to designate this as the first room of the dungeon. So we're going to do /xd dungeon first room. Actually need to be in the room, sorry. /xd dungeon first room, and that'll set the first room to whatever room you are in. So we do need a start point for the first room. So if we try and start the dungeon, it won't work, it'll say it's incomplete. So /xd room set start, and that'll set the start for whatever room I'm in. Also, we would probably want a door in this room, since we don't want to just drop straight through to the next room. So I'm going to put a couple of markers here. Again, /xd select point 1, /xd select point 2. And we're going to set the material to, well, actually first set the boundaries. /xd room door. We have the two commands, set boundaries and material. The materials take the same format as World Edit, just whatever the name of the block, and the, for example, a number indicating the color of the whatever, or the type of block it is. In this case we should use stone, so /xd room door material stone, and that sets the material to stone. If you don't set the material, it, well, won't work. You don't need a door. I would recommend having doors because it stops the party from just running straight through the dungeon. But if you don't set a door, it just won't happen. So we've got our door set up, we've got our room set up, but now we need spawners. So for this we're going to have a zombie let's have 2 zombies and a skeleton. So we'll do /xd room add spawner. So this just puts a spawner wherever you are. It's the mob name, so we're just going to say zombie, and we're going to have 2 of those, and we're going to have 1 skeleton, and then I'll put those in their respective positions. Yeah, let's do that. We do want to have another room, so we're going to do, otherwise it'll just end after that room, and that'll be kind of a boring dungeon. So I'm going to do /xd, am I in the dungeon? Just make sure you are in the dungeon. As you can see here, I was outside the dungeon, that wouldn't have worked. /xd dungeon, sorry, xd room create room 2. I'm just doing a number order because it's easier for me to think about. Room 2, and we'll set boundaries for that room. So I'm going to do /xd select point 1 /xd select point 2, and I'm going to do /xd room set boundaries room 2. So I'll set boundaries for this room. Let's have a creeper in this room. Pretty nasty mob. Nice way to end the dungeon. /xd room add spawner creeper. Let's have 2 of them. You know what? Why not? Let's have a spider as well. 1 spider, and so that'll end with a lovely bang and a spider. In this case, we're going to want to set the room after this to that. So I'm going to do /xd room set next. So you need to be in the room that you want to set the next room for. So do set next room 2. Oops. It's not set next, it's next room. Room 2. This will set the next room to be room 2, just so that it spawns all the not zombies, skeletons, creepers, whatever else you want to put in there for your party. So currently we're going to have a really lovely dungeon. It's going to teleport you into here. You're going to kill all the mobs, assuming you're good enough. You're going to drop down into this room. You're going to kill the mobs. They're going to try and kill you, and then you're just going to teleport out to the outside world, which is kind of boring. You want to give them a reward for defeating all of your horrible mobs. So what you're going to do is you're going to use the loot system. So I've prepared a piece of loot here called Excalibur. I'm going to add it to the loot list. The way the loot works is that your server has a loot list, and that loot list is available across all dungeons. It won't be given in all dungeons, but you can add loot from that list. It saves you from creating the same piece of loot several times. So to add a piece of loot, /xd loot add, let's call it Excalibur. And that's going to add it to the loot list. You can see what the loot list is by doing /xd loot list. So I've got Excalibur, Bow of Apollo, and 2 nether stars. Preferably use descriptive names, that'll make it easier for you when you're adding the loot. You can give yourself loot by doing xd loot give, let's say, Bow of Apollo, and that'll give you the loot that is in the list. You can also remove loot, obviously, with /xd loot remove. But in this case, I want to set the loot for this first room to be something, you know, Bow of Apollo, maybe 50% drop. You don't want to drop every time, but you want 1 in 2 people to get it. So as you can see here, /xd room loot. You have similar commands to the actual loot list. This allows a loot list to your room. These will drop whenever you want them to. So we're going to /xd room loot add. Just put the name in from your list. I'm not using that one. We're going to do Bow of Apollo. We do need the drop chance, so we're going to have 50% drop chance. It doesn't matter what you're holding in your hand. You can be holding the item itself or whatever. It doesn't actually reference that at all. When we add the loot to the room, want some more loot in here as well. Let's have the Excalibur drop 20% of the time. Being a bit of a jerk here. And let's have the 2 nether stars. Let's have the 100% drop, because maybe that's an important thing for them for progression through your server or whatever. So if you wanted it for a quest or something like that. So you've got your 2 nether stars added there. You've got all your loot set up. Currently, if you teleport in, it'll just say, welcome to my underground lair, and you've bested me at the beginning and end of the dungeon, which kind of, I quite like them, but you may want to change that, you theme your dungeon a bit more. So for that you do /XD dungeon, and it's entry message and end message. So I'm going to do entry message, and let's just say I want it to be, ooh, I shall kill you all. So it's going to tell you what the message is there. It'll always come up in red as you enter the dungeon and green as you leave the dungeon. That kind of indicates it's a bad thing that you've entered and a good thing that you left, because it's dangerous and safer, respectively. So that's going to set the entry message for this dungeon. Let's set the end message as well. In both these cases, it will set it to whatever you put on the end after the end message. So we're going to say, as if somebody's died. That's actually the wrong colour there. That's a bug that I'll fix. As you can see, those are now set. So let's just hop into the dungeon here. So to run a dungeon, you can do it either on your own or as a party. The party commands are fairly simple. Invite, refuse, kick, leave, accept, list, disband. Invite obviously invites the named player. They must be online to be invited. Refuse will refuse that invite. Accept obviously will accept the invite. Kick will kick somebody from in your party. Leave will leave the party if you're a member of a party. And disband will disband the party. List will show who's in your party. That includes both members and invites. In this case, I'm not going to bother with the party. I don't have any players online. I can't really do that. So I'm just going to do /XD start. Well, I don't know what dungeons there are. It's quite simple. /XD list. Currently, we only have test. Start test. Sorry. /XD dungeon start test. So it's teleported me into the dungeon. You can see the doors appeared. I'm going to slowly kill this skeleton. Oops, I broke the dungeon. I wouldn't be in creative mode. Normally players will not be able to destroy your dungeons because they need the permission for it. That's also to do with how you set up your dungeon. I'm actually going to sort out because this is taking way too long. I'll fix my dungeon here. So only people with dungeon edit permission can do that. Oh no, it's a creeper. If only he'd explode. Shame that. Creepers don't actually damage the surroundings. See, I killed the spider. It's ended the dungeon. It had come up with the correct text there. That's ended the dungeon. It's given me the... So now I'm going to go into this in survival mode. Try and get killed at least once. Show you how that works. So I get dropped into the dungeon. Oh no, I'm under siege. Kill most of them. Just get myself killed real quick here. Real quick, come on, skeleton. So then I can get respawned at the start of the dungeon or the start of the last finished room if that room has a spawn set. Oh no, creepers explode. Obviously it did not damage the dungeon. Not surprised I didn't get killed there. But yeah, so it's not damaged the dungeon, it's teleported me out, dungeon's ended. So I got my nether star loot, didn't get the bow of Apollo or Excalibur or whatever. But that's basically how that works. That's pretty much all we've got here. In the future updates there will be more features. If you do have any features you'd like to request, please go ahead and submit them on the bukkit page. That's about all. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the plugin.